Mr. Tibbs scowled. He directed 4 footmen to clear up the mess. Then, with a disdainful little wave of his hand, he indicated to the giant that he should seat himself on top of the chest of drawers on top of the grand piano.
What a fizz-whizzing, flesh-bunking seat!
Cried the BFG. I think that means he likes it.
It's going to be bug as a snug in the rug
up here. Snug as a bug in a rug, right? Does he always speak like that? The Queen asked. Quite often, Sophie said. He gets tangled up with his words. The BFG sat down on the chest of drawers piano and gazed in wonder around the great ballroom.
By gumdrops,
he called.
What a spiffling, wopsy room we is in. It is so gigantic, I is needing binoculars, I is needing binoculars and telescopes to see what is going on the other end.
Footmen arrived, carrying silver trays with fried eggs, bacon, sausages, and fried potatoes. I'm going to take a moment here. Take a look. At this point, Mr. Tibbs suddenly realized that in order to serve the BFG at his 12-foot-high grandfather clock table, he would have to climb to the top of one of the tall stepladders. What's more, he must do it balancing a huge warm plate on the palm of one hand and holding a gigantic silver coffee pot in the other. A normal man would have flinched at the thought of it, but good butlers never flinch. Up he went, up and up and up, while the Queen and Sophie watched him with great interest. It is possible that they were both secretly hoping he would lose his balance and go crashing to the floor, but good butlers never crash. At the top of the ladder, Mr. Tibbs, balancing like an acrobat, poured the BFG's coffee and placed the enormous plate before him. On the plate, there were 8 eggs, 12 sausages, 16 rashers of bacon, strips, and a heap of fried potatoes.
What is this, please, your majesty?
The BFG asked, peering down at the Queen. He has never eaten anything except snozzcumbers before in his life, Sophie explained. They taste revolting. They don't seem to have stunted his growth, the Queen said. The BFG grabbed the garden spade and scooped up all the eggs, sausages, bacon, and potatoes in one go, and shoveled them into his enormous mouth.
Oh, by goggles, he cried. This stuff is making snozzcumbers taste like swatchwallop.
The Queen glanced up, frowning. Mr. Tibbs looked down at his toes, and his lips moved in silent prayer.
That was only one titchy little bite, the BFG said. Is you having any more of this delicious grubble in your cupboard, majesty?
Tibbs, the Queen said, showing true regal hospitality, fetched the gentleman another dozen fried eggs and a dozen sausages. Mr. Tibbs swam out of the room, muttering unspeakable words to himself and wiping his brow with a white handkerchief. Oh my gosh, poor Mr. Tibbs. He thought he had enough. The BFG lifted the huge jug and took a swallow. Ouch! He cried, blowing a mouthful across the ballroom.
Please, what is this horrible swig pill I is drinking, majesty?
It's coffee, the Queen told him, freshly roasted.
It's filthsome, the BFG cried out. Where is the frobscottle?
The what? The Queen asked. Oh, no, not frobscottle.
The lumptious, fizzy frobscottle, the BFG answered. Everyone must be drinking frobscottle with breakfast, majesty. Then we can all be whiz-popping happily together afterwards.
What does he mean? The Queen said, frowning at Sophie. What is whiz-popping? Sophie. Sophie, I can't, but Sophie can keep a straight face. I can't. Sophie kept a very straight face. BFG, she said, there is no frobscottle here, and whiz-popping is strictly forbidden.
What? Cried the BFG. No frobscottle? No whiz-popping? No glumptious music? No boom-boom-boom?
Absolutely not, Sophie told them firmly. If he wants to sing, please don't stop him. If he wants to sing, please don't stop him, the Queen said. He doesn't want to sing, Sophie said. He said he wants to make music, the Queen went on. Shall I send for a violin? No, Your Majesty, Sophie said. He's only joking. A sly little smile crossed the BFG's face. Listen, he said, peering down at Sophie. If there is
If they isn't having any frapscotto here in the palace, I can go whiz-popping perfectly well enough without it if I was trying hard enough. No! Cried Sophie. Don't! You're not to! I beg you! Music? No, music is very good for the digestion, the Queen said. When I'm up in Scotland, they play the bagpipes outside the window while I'm eating. Do play something. I has Her Majesty's permission, cried the BFG, and all at once he let fly with a whiz-popper that sounded as though a bomb had exploded in the room. The Queen jumped. Whoopee! Cried the BFG. That is better than bagpipes, is it not, Majester? It took the Queen a few seconds to get over the shock. I prefer the bagpipes myself, she said, but she couldn't stop herself smiling. During the next 20 minutes, a whole relay of footmen were kept busy hurrying to and from the kitchen, carrying third and fifth helpings of fried eggs and sausages for the ravenous and delighted BFG. When the BFG had consumed his 22nd fried egg, Mr. Tibbs sidled up to the Queen. He bent low from the waist and whispered in her ear, Chef sends his apologies, Your Majesty, but he says he has no more eggs in the kitchen. What's wrong with the hens? The Queen said. Nothing's wrong with the hens, Your Majesty, Mr. Tibbs whispered. Then tell them to lay more. You just can't do that, by the way, the Queen said. She looked up at the BFG. Have some toast and marmalade while you're waiting, she said to him. The toast is finished, Mr. Tibbs whispered, and Chef says there is no more bread. Tell him to bake more, the Queen said. While all this was going on, Sophie had been telling the Queen everything, absolutely everything, about her visit to Giant Country. The Queen listened, appalled. When Sophie had finished, the Queen looked up at the BFG, who was sitting high above her. He was now eating a sponge cake. All right, now we're down to the business part of the meeting, and I'm going to stop there.